Okay, the first problems in the support section are just graphing lines, but they want you to plot instead of, you know how we make our XY chart and then Math Lab lets us choose any points from that chart to plot and connect. These first few problems actually say use the intercepts to graph the equation. So what an intercept is, like the x-intercept is going to be a point on the x-axis. If you're an x-intercept, that means you're a point that lies physically on the x-axis. Same for y-intercept. If you are a y-intercept, you physically lie on the y-axis. So those are what intercepts are. So how are we going to pick out from our XY chart which points those are? So here's how you're going to find that. If you are an x-intercept, doesn't matter, your x, you will have a number in that spot for x. But how would you lie on the x-axis? There is one thing in common with all the x-intercepts in the world, and that is,
They have to be 0.
That is exactly right. If they're going to be on the x-axis, that means you're a point that hasn't gone up or down, right? That's why you're still on the x-axis, is because you haven't gone up or down. So that's how we're going to find it. If you are the x-intercept, it is because your y is 0. Same thing for the y-intercept. What are the one thing in common that all y-intercepts have is they all have, there's going to be a number in your y spot. But how do you lie on the y-axis? What does that mean? That point hasn't done. It hasn't gone left or right. That's why it's still on the y-axis. If I start here and end up here, I didn't have to travel left or right to do that. That is because your x is 0. So that's what all y-intercepts have in common, is their x is 0. So let's look at a couple of these. So again, it wants you to still graph the line, but use those specific points instead of any points. Number 1 says x minus 4 equals y. So if I'm going to find the x-intercept, what do I know again about all x-intercepts in the world? That their y is 0. Well, put the 0 in the y. So if I do that, if I put a 0 in my y spot, I have x minus 4 equals 0. And then solve it for the x. When I solve it for the x, that's going to show me where I am on the x-axis. So if I'm solving for x, I would just need to add the 4 to both sides. So that tells me the x-intercept is at 0 plus 4, which is 4. So that's where it's going to cross the x. So if you want to go ahead and point that out. It's going to cross the x-axis at positive 4. Remember, all intercepts are on an axis. The x-intercept is on the x-axis. Now I'll find the other intercept. So the y-intercept. So what do I know about every y-intercept in the world is that their x is 0. So you can kind of think of it like this. Whatever intercept you're trying to find, plug your 0 in the other letter. So if you're trying to find the x-intercept, put a 0 in the y spot. If you're trying to find the y-intercept, put your 0 in the x spot. So if I put the 0 here, I have 0 minus 4 equals y. What's 0 minus 4? Negative 4 equals y. So that means it's going to cross the y-axis, which is this one, at negative 4. And again, once you put that second point, MathLab will connect them. So again, you'll just move over to the right 4 to put one of your points. And then your other one, you'll just go down 4 to put its point. So again, if it says to graph by plotting intercepts, it doesn't want any random point. It wants those two specific points. Okay, number 2 is the same way. X plus 5y equals 10. So whatever intercept you're finding, which I'm going to find the x first, plug in the 0 in the other letter. So if I'm finding the x-intercept, I'm putting a 0 in for the y. If I do that, I have x plus 5 times 0 equals 10. 5 times 0 is 0. So this just now says x plus 0 equals 10. Well, x plus 0 is just x, right? If you wanted to keep doing the solve an equation rules, you would actually subtract that 0 from both sides. But that doesn't change anything. So what are you left with? X equals 10. So that's where it's going to cross the x-axis. So in MathLab, you would just go over on the x-axis to positive 10 and put a point. So you would go over to the x-axis at positive 10 and put a point. And finding the y-intercept. So that means if I'm finding the y, that means I put my 0 in the x. So I'll have 0 plus 5y equals 10. 0 is just nothing, right? It's like it's not even there. 0 is nothing. So all that I really have here is 5y equals 10. And then divide both sides by 5. So here, y equals 10 over 5, which is 2. So again, you would go over to the y-axis this time and go up to positive 2 and put your point. And then it'll connect. All right, looks like there's 2 more like this. Five x plus 4y equals 20. Finding the x-intercept first. So again, whatever intercept you're finding, put your 0 in the other letter. So I'm putting my 0 in the y. So if I do that, I have 5x plus 4 times 0 equals 20. Look what happens here. What is 4 times 0? That's nothing. So it's kind of like this just goes away because 4 times 0 is nothing. So all I actually have left over here is 5x equals 20. And then divide both sides by 5. So x equals 4. So there's your x-intercept. So again, just like the others, you'll go to your x-axis. You'll go to your x-axis to positive 4 and put a point. Then finding your y-intercept. So this time, you'll put your 0 in the x. So I have 5 times 0 plus 4y equals 20. Again, 5 times 0 is nothing. So it's kind of like it just knocks that out. And just leaves you with this 4y equals 20. And divide both sides by 4. So y equals